Antifragile, Things That Gain from Disorder by Nassim Nicholas Taleb. Prologue. How to Love the Wind. Wind extinguishes a candle and energizes fire. Likewise, with randomness, uncertainty, chaos, you want to use them, not hide from them. You want to be the fire and wish for the wind. This summarizes the author's non-meek attitude to randomness and uncertainty. We just don't want to just survive uncertainty, to just about make it. We want to survive uncertainty and, in addition, like a certain class of aggressive Roman Stoics, have the last word. The mission is how to domesticate, even dominate, conquer the unseen, the opaque, and the inexplicable. How? Some things benefit from shocks. They thrive and grow when exposed to volatility, randomness, disorder, and stressors, and love adventure, risk, and uncertainty. Yet, in spite of the ubiquity of the phenomenon, there is no word for the exact opposite of fragile. Let us call it antifragile. Antifragility is beyond resilience or robustness. The resilient resists shocks and stays the same. The antifragile gets better. This property is behind everything that has changed with time. Evolution, culture, ideas, revolutions, political systems, technological innovation, cultural and economic success, corporate survival, good recipes, say chicken soup or steak tartare with a drop of cognac, the rise of cities, cultures, legal systems, equatorial forests, bacterial resistance, even our own existence as a species on this planet. And antifragility determines the boundary between what is living and organic or complex, say the human body, and what is inert, say a physical object like the stapler on your desk. The antifragile loves randomness and uncertainty, which also means, crucially, a love of errors, a certain class of errors. Antifragility has a singular property of allowing us to deal with the unknown, to do things without understanding them, and do them well. Let me be more aggressive. We are largely better at doing than we are at thinking, thanks to antifragility. I'd rather be dumb and antifragile than extremely smart and fragile anytime. It is easy to see things around us that, like a measure of stressors and volatility, economic systems, your body, your nutrition, diabetes, and many similar modern ailments seem to be associated with a lack of randomness in feeding and the absence of the stressor of occasional starvation, your psyche. There are even financial contracts that are antifragile. They are explicitly designed to benefit from market volatility. Antifragility makes us understand fragility better. Just as we cannot improve health without reducing disease or increase wealth without first decreasing losses, antifragility and fragility are degrees on a spectrum. By grasping the mechanisms of antifragility, we can build a systematic and broad guide to non-predictive decision-making under uncertainty in business, politics, medicine, and life in general. Anywhere the unknown preponderates, any situation in which there is randomness, unpredictability, opacity, or incomplete understanding of things. It is far easier to figure out if something is fragile than to predict the occurrence of an event that may harm it. Fragility can be measured. Risk is not measurable outside of casinos or the minds of people who call themselves risk experts. This provides a solution to what I've called the black swan problem, the impossibility of calculating the risk of consequential rare events and predicting their occurrence. Sensitivity to harm from volatility is tractable, more so than forecasting the event that will cause the harm. So we propose to stand our current approaches to prediction, prognostication, and risk management on their heads. In every domain or area of application, we propose rules for moving from the fragile toward the antifragile through reduction of fragility or harnessing antifragility. And we can almost always detect antifragility and fragility using a simple test of asymmetry. Anything that has more upside than downside from random events or certain shocks is antifragile. The reverse is fragile. Crucially, if antifragility is the property of all those natural and complex systems that have survived, depriving these systems of volatility, randomness, and stressors will harm them. They will weaken, die, or blow up. We have been fragilizing the economy, our health, political life, education, almost everything by suppressing randomness and volatility. Just as spending a month in bed, preferably with an unabridged version of War and Peace, and access to The Sopranos' entire 86 episodes leads to muscle atrophy, complex systems are weakened, even killed when deprived of stressors. Much of our modern structured world has been harming us with top-down policies and contraptions, dubbed Soviet Harvard delusions in this book, which do precisely this: an insult to the antifragility of systems. This is the tragedy of modernity. As with neurotically overprotective parents, those trying to help are often hurting the most. If about everything top-down fragilizes and blocks antifragility and growth, everything bottom-up thrives under the right amount of stress and disorder. The process of discovery or innovation or technological progress itself depends on antifragile tinkering, aggressive risk-bearing rather than formal education. Which brings us to the largest fragilizer of society and greatest generator of crises: absence of skin in the game. Some become antifragile at the expense of others by getting the upside or gains from volatility, variations, and disorder, and exposing others to the downside risks of losses or harm. And such antifragility at the cost of fragility of others is hidden, given the blindness to antifragility by the Soviet Harvard intellectual circles. This asymmetry is rarely identified and so far never taught. Further, as we discovered during the financial crisis that started in 2008, these blow-up risks to others are easily concealed owing to the growing complexity of modern institutions and political affairs. While in the past, people of rank or status were those, and only those, who took risks, who had the downside for their actions, and heroes were those who did so for the sake of others, today the exact reverse is taking place. We are witnessing the rise of a new class of inverse heroes, that is, bureaucrats, bankers, Davos-attending members of the IAND, the International Association of Name Droppers, and academics with too much power and no real downside and or accountability. They game the system while citizens pay the price. At no point in history have so many non-risk takers, that is, those with no personal exposure, exerted so much control. The chief ethical rule is the following: thou shalt not have antifragility at the expense of the fragility of others. End reading. Stay safe. Be well.